Welcome back to the part 3 of Breaking Boundaries, Hijab, the flag of freedom or oppression. So we were saying before the break, we were talking about, the male hijab, and it's not apparent. But would you say it's crucial in terms of social cohesion, like for more, not civil society, but the word I'm looking for is like less tension, because there can be some I don't know, for example, in the workplace, in sort of big workplaces and big institutions, sometimes there is this gender politics between men and women and inappropriate behavior or things of this nature. Do you think the social hijab for men and for women is just as important as a physical hijab? Are we missing a trick because we don't promote that enough as Muslims?
Yeah, I think that definitely plays a huge other role. So you mean the more spiritual mannerisms?
Yeah, to interact, because once we say hijab, the general British public, Middle Englanders will think, oh, that piece of cloth, is it khimar or is it called a jilbab, or they try, but most people that are not Muslim probably won't know about the social hijab or the spiritual aspects of hijab or the male hijab. Probably a revelation to some people to know that there's a physical covering and a spiritual covering for men.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that we face in this Western society is shaking hands, saying job interviews and things like this. That's one big issue I struggle with. So say you want to go for a job interview and it's just general courtesy to shake the other person's hand. Yeah,
it's a cultural formality, right? Like in this society.
Exactly. But as Muslim women in this society, it's how do you say, especially in a job interview with someone like a CEO or someone, to say, sorry, I don't want to shake your hands because
I've heard so many people struggle with that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge, big social. People lack the understanding of. I mean, if they knew that Muslim women or just Muslims in general have those boundaries between each other, I think this society we live in now would be a much easier place to live in. But obviously, there's that big lack of understanding still. Of people don't understand why, and
But sisters, I don't know if I'm being biased, at the risk of sounding biased, but it seems as if would be easier for the sisters, because of the hijab, and say, oh, because of my religion, oh, I'm so sorry. Whereas, like, if you in a suit or whatever, and you say, oh, I'm Muslim, oh, right, like a kind of different, there's a different vibe to it. What do you think, Zara?
I think it's right. I mean, for me, I couldn't care less if it's a CEO. I'd be like, sorry, don't shake hands. I think I find it more difficult if someone doesn't understand, and I may offend them. I don't like offending people. But then obviously your religious obligation is first and foremost God. But I think that it's really about balancing what your religion is stipulating to you on your Sharia basis, and then obviously not causing offence as well. So, I mean, there's always a nicer way to do things. But I think in terms of social hijab, it's actually so important. I think social media has stripped layers. It's very responsible for it. I think the interaction generally between, like, we can forget outside. I think even within our own youth, it's at the level.
I was going to say the youth. The social media is scary because it's if you're old enough to remember when there wasn't social media and mobile phones and things of that nature, but you can understand this. You can see a change.
Definitely.
But if you are born and all you know is a mobile phone and people sending pictures of themselves, whether dressed, half dressed, nearly dressed, then they're almost getting groomed societally, to a different moral standard.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we there was an time when you just giving your number was something so sacred, like, well, why would you need my number? And now it's like, give me your number. It's almost like expected. And I still haven't got over that. I think I will always be an age-old dinosaur in that aspect, very traditional, that, it's something that only people that need to have your number. But again, it's just so free now. And I think the boundaries of social hijab have broken down a lot. And I think it's worrying that each generation that's coming on to, say, Twitter, the things I hear from Twitter, it's just appalling. You think, if our youth have no understanding that, it's not just the physical covering that you have, but it's your, it's putting pouty lipstick pictures up. It's, saying innuendos that are so inappropriate because a man.
Just the absence of a social hijab.
Absolutely, and I think the barriers are breaking down in terms of, if a girl is saying, oh, like I said, I couldn't even repeat it on TV, but, you know, stop to think what a man, he'll imagine you in certain scenarios if you're going to present that to him. And we are, you know, men tend to be more visual, more imaginative. So, and women, obviously, we think a bit differently, but we need to understand what the other gender, how they perceive us. And I think it's my responsibility to be giving that right, you know, that right impression to the other gender, that, you know, no, I have barriers, I don't want too much, you know, of you talking to me, so, you know, you can, I don't want you thinking you can chat to me, you can, and there's no difference between behind a, you know, computer screen to you sitting in front, you know, public to me.
That's interesting, because there is a phenomenon amongst many of the youth in terms of sending pictures to each other, and some not in hijab, or, you know, inappropriately clad, even brothers not, you know, observing the male hijab, and it's causing some difficulties in terms of behaviour and getting into avenues that, you know, quite harmful to people's souls or spiritually, you know. But I wanted to just introduce another topic into the conversation. This is about hijab and the benefits, because, you know, you have many Muslim evangelists, and, you know, in one sense, there's a side of me that says, but the hijab, women wear hijab, males observe the hijab because it's a command from Allah. But, you know, as human beings, we try to find a scientific and epistemological justification. But Allah says wear it. You know, we don't know all the benefits, but there's things that we do in Islam that we don't quite know why. All the inner meanings of, but it's because of our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, that we observe these things. But I recently came across a study that was done in 2013 in England, and it was saying that British Muslim women who wear hijab generally feel better about their body image than those who do not. That's what the research is suggesting. Study involving something like 500 people, 500 women. But then, so what it raises is this idea of objectification of women, or the non-objectification of women. What is your general thoughts about such a study, or such an outcome?
I think, in my personal opinion, is the way you see.
Hold it. We'll come back to that. We've got a call up.
Okay.
Hello, and alaikum salam rahmatullah.
I'm really enjoying this so much. It's brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Zainab. I'm calling from London.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you. What's the question or comment you'd like to inject into the conversation?
Oh, I've got a comment and a question as well. The comment is, being a hijabi myself, like, I find it quite, in regards to hijab, like, obviously it's like a veil and everything, and there's a physical aspect, and I completely agree with, I think it was one of the sisters mentioned that, you know, there's social hijab, and as someone who has, like, you know, not aggression, so to speak, but before I do something, I always remind myself, oh, I'm wearing hijab, so obviously I can't scream at that person or attack that person, or just generally, like, say something that's inappropriate, and my hijab is a constant reminder, which is a good thing, and I completely agree that, you know, socially, like, hijab is just as important as physically. But I was wondering, like, what the panelists thought in respect to when it comes to finding a husband or a spouse. I mean, it can be really, like, difficult, especially in our community, to find a husband and, like, or find a potential spouse, but also keep hijab in check, especially when we live in the West, because obviously there's non-hijabis, or there's, you know, and it's probably easier for them to find a potential spouse.
Okay, I'll put that to the sisters. What's your thoughts about that? Because it is a real issue. It's a real issue.
Definitely, yeah. Obviously, from what I've witnessed already in our community, is that brothers do prefer to have sisters, or have a sister who's a wife who does observe the hijab, just because they understand that you know, the hijab does keep a family together as well, and there's a lot of spirituality behind and philosophy behind that reason why. It sort of has a link with divorce rates as well. So, you know, there's statistics.
I think the caller's offline, but she's still listening offline.
Okay. They've correlated that divorce rates, that they've within the Muslim world,
right,
compared to the Western world, there's a huge amount of less divorce rates. and you know, because of the hijab and just the moral values of Islam altogether. And I think the hijab does play a huge role in that reason, in that respect as well, which is why I think in our community, the men, our brothers, they do tend to want to be with a wife, you know, who does observe the hijab. Yeah.
I think what she meant, the quote Zainab meant, I'm correct, Zainab meant that does it inhibit us because we're wearing hijab, and there's women that wear, you know, perhaps don't wear hijab and will look more beautiful, and it's all their beauty is more outwardly, whereas with us it's, you know, the hair is such a beautiful ornament that does it inhibit us. And to be honest, if a man comes and is that shallow to think, well, you know, I have to see the beauty and it has to be apparent, and you know, he's not looking at so deep.
Inner beauty and soul.
Exactly. And when we're told about the requirements to search for spouses, it is about, you know, the faith that a person has, and if we're going to be looking at superficial, then God says you're going to look at beauty, well, that's all you'll get. So you know, I think would you want to be with somebody that's just going to judge you based on your, you know, your facial, because this is going to grow old and it's going to get wrinkly, and at the end it's a soul that is going to be matching, and you know, your personality and your strength and your religion and everything. So yeah, I mean, it possibly could be difficult for sisters, I'm sure it is, but again, they equally have to find a spouse that's right for them, and if he's going to judge her on you know, whether you match his criteria, then I think it's equally your right to be saying, well, are you good enough for me if you're going to judge me my looks?
It's an important point. I've heard a sheikh say as well that generally, because there was this discussion that evolved once that I was involved in, and it was saying that this, you know, one sister was saying it's very difficult for Muslims almost along similar lines, because it's almost like competitively there's non-hijabis and hijabis. So what's the criteria? But you know, I was involved in that conversation with a sheikh, and he actually was of the view that generally speaking, all things being equal, that a practicing Muslim man would prefer a hijabi wife, you know, that would be his first preference. So I mean, I don't know if that answers the sister's question. But she raised an important point.
Yeah, definitely.
But hoping to go back to that research, get both of your reflections on that research about this, you know, body anxiety or you know, feeling good about self. So I guess the research is almost, the inference I'm drawing is that it's taking pressure away from women, maybe because this society is hypersensitive about women and body image for men as well. But you know, in terms of weight problems, in terms of anxiety disorders, I mean, on a day-to-day, I see people as a psychotherapist, and oftentimes women have these punitive regimes, and oftentimes related to body image, or is manifested that way with self-harm or binging or whatever it is. So what do you think about that? I find it intriguing, but it was one I was able to pull up. But what's your thoughts about things of that nature, you know, this anxiety for women and the whole female form and so on and so forth?
If you're not observing hijab, then you're living in a society where there's a lot of competition to look the best, and bet your bottom dollar that there will be always somebody more beautiful coming along. You know, you can look at the stars that they present on TV to make you.
That's not even real, though, is it?
No, and it's almost like, you know, Kim Kardashian was just, you know, sort of 10 years ago the thing, and now her sister is, you know, the thing. There's always something that's maybe more beautiful, and you're constantly competing in a world which is, you can't match it. And I think that's where, you know, you become demoralised, that, you know, I need to be this skinny. Like they were saying, there's young girls at 6 who are conscious of their body, their weight and their, you know, appearance. And I think what hijab is, what you're talking about, the freedom is that you're no longer competing with anything, because, you know, whether people want to say you look like you've got a black bin liner on or a sack, you know, whatever I am underneath, it will be for my home, for my spouse or for my family members. You know, that is my body. I'm whatever it is, you know, I mean, not to say that I won't take care of it, not to say I won't be into exercise and healthy eating, all of that, but it's I'm not competing with anybody outside. I'm just doing what's best for myself. And I think that gives you immediately a positive psychology towards, an attitude towards this issue, that, you know, I'm not, why would I be competing with somebody's attention? I mean, the whole point of me wearing hijab is to pull myself out of that rat race, to say, this is me, take me for what I am as a person, not the person that you're going to see whether my hair's blonde or, you know, the latest fashion. I'm not in that. That's just not for me.
Okay, what do you think? What's your thoughts?
With me, this links into how the thought process I went through when I was trying to learn about the hijab and understand the philosophy behind it. I came to realise that our bodies, everyone's bodies, they're not really ours, they're Allah's. So if we love Allah, respect all of Allah's creation, we'll treat our body with the respect that we need to give to Allah for, you know, so I find like when I go out shopping and I see the fashion that is laid out for us out there in the shops, you know, short skirts for women, dresses, high heels, things like this, and I feel like, you know, Allah's creation doesn't deserve that. Like, it's, you know, so these are the things where like as you were saying about the whole freedom thing, we're breaking away from that, and we're treating our bodies the way they're meant to be treated, and we have to treat our bodies with that kind of respect, and you know, so I think
I hear you because I'm very suspicious. I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I'm very suspicious of the agenda of those who I call like the social engineers, those organizations and institutions that sort of set trends and fashion and agendas, so to speak. I'm very suspicious because there is this argument that sex sells, and this is why if it's a cake of soap or a motor car, there's always a half-clad woman on top of the car. But then I'm thinking to myself, but generally speaking, most women in the society are heterosexual, then wouldn't that mean that they if it was just to sell a product, that they'll be half, you know, because women are big consumers now, right? And entering the professional world or universities and excelling past men. So wouldn't there be half-clad men? I don't want to say half-clad men, I'm just, there's no influence. But wouldn't there be if it was just about selling a product? And then I think, no, there's something more going on a psychological level about women becoming the object, sexual, in like a sexual objectification. They're the object, the thing that is something's done to the object, the tool or whatever, as opposed to men who are the ones that are empowered, who are setting this agenda and objectifying women. So I'm very suspicious, and I like the fact that you say that as a hijabi it's empowering and it takes you out of the like the rat race.
I had an interesting conversation with a female pastor from Copenhagen a few months ago, and so we were having a Q&A, asked a question, and afterwards we had a conversation. She said to me, you know, I really respect Muslim women, and so she looked like a Marilyn Monroe lookalike, absolutely, you know, peroxide hair, red lipstick, beautiful clothes, and she said, you know, what I worry for you Muslim women is that it hasn't taken the men of our Western world long to strip the Jewish women of their hijab, to strip the Christian women of their hijab, and now they are attacking you. And she said, but you aren't like us. You are so much more stronger in your faith that you're refusing to remove this. And she said, this is the agenda, that you are, they want your scars, you to become like everybody else. And I just say to you as a sister in faith that, you know, in humanity, that we, you know, keep up your strength, you know, your inner strength comes through, and don't give up your external hijab, not for anybody. She goes, because we have become immodest as women, and I feel uncomfortable. And I thought, you know, this is a non-Muslim woman saying this, a Christian saying this to me, and it's interesting how, because I don't like to think, oh, you know, like you're saying about conspiracy theories, you can go all sorts down.
The rabbit hole goes
deep.
Exactly.
So, sometimes just keep your mind innocent and sweet, but it was interesting how perspective that, you know, this is something that, you know, the whole agenda of making the media go against, you know, saying you're oppressed, so that you could turn around and say, well, actually, you know. And there have been, unfortunately, women that have felt that they've needed to remove it because of societal pressures, because, oh, I'm not going to be accepted. But I think, you know, it's something that we've got to be aware of, that there is an agenda to sort of, you know, make us as well, you know, to feel fit, that we feel that we fit into society. And to be honest with you, I will fit into, you know, the society. I will integrate, but I will not compromise on what God has told me.
So what do they call it? They call it integration, but not assimilation.
Yes.
Because there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So there is this idea, which, as I said, I spoke about, like a lot of Muslim tele-evangelists or you know, evangelists in general. I don't know if evangelist is a bit of a Christian word, but you know what I mean, like people that do dawah and preaches, and they try to evidence that, you know, it protects women necessarily from, you know, sexual assault or inappropriate men. But I do question that in the sense that, you know, if men have a sickness, I think a piece of cloth is not the be all and end all to that sickness, or even on the if you invert that kind of psychology, what I've seen on some unfortunate news items in certain Muslim countries, which I won't mention by name, but we're countries that. So there's women that wear hijab and they're treated angelically, and then there's women who choose not to wear hijab, and then they're like kind of set upon in the street in the most inappropriate beast-like ways. And is that a green light to say also? I mean, are men supposed to be that uncontrollable?
Exactly.
What say you? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's around the same ayahs as Allah mentions about wearing the hijab, that He mentioned about lowering the gaze as well. So, I mean, for both men and women. So, you know, I think it's not just the physical form, it's also, you know, actually understanding that you need to, the reason for that, well, it's not just the one reason, but one of the reasons for wearing hijab is to lower the gaze. And, you know, just because a woman decides to wear less clothing on her doesn't mean it's an open invitation to start.
It's not a green light for inappropriate advances.
No, because then there's those other ayahs that back it up, that you should also lower your gaze. So
absolutely,
you know, it's not always just the hijab. It's
so if you're praying, if you're fasting, if you're reading Quran and reciting Quran and reflecting on the Book of Allah as a Muslim man, then if a woman is not dressed appropriately or whatever, regardless, you may have and you keep it moving, but it's not a.
But let's not forget, hijab is, this is the outer physical, but hijab is also about senses. You know, it's your vision, it's your speech, it's your hearing. Everything is a part of your perfection towards God. So if you're looking and you're praying, Allah Akbar, I'm going to be staring at this woman, even that's just ridiculous. And I think, I mean, and to say about, some Muslim countries, I mean, I've been on pilgrimages and the most obscene, actions I have seen and unfortunately endured. And I was covered in, my pilgrimage clothes. Was I looking attractive? No, I don't think so. So, and that's a sickness in the man. So to say that, women are less dressed, invite that, absolutely not. I think the sickness is within the man. And they could be in the holiest of cities, there could be inhabitants there, but if there's a sickness, and no woman, and again we were going back to how you teach men hijab. If you raise your children to be respecting the other opposite gender, and especially as men, it doesn't matter this woman's heart, if she's dressed in a miniskirt, well, your duty is exactly that, lower your gaze, but don't feel that she wants to dress as her freedom to do that. This is that, a culture which endorses that, so it doesn't give any man the right to, even judge her. I mean, even I've seen some girls that wear hijab and very the superiority complex, saying, well, she's wearing a skirt. Well, I'm sorry, that everybody's journey. Maybe she doesn't have the enlightenment you had. Maybe your heart's more diseased than hers is. Who are we to judge another human being? Whether it's another girl wearing hijab, we know by all means we're not saying we're anything better. At the end, God will judge us. Absolutely, and we don't know the piety of people's hearts. Only God knows that. So again, let's focus on ourselves and on what we are doing, our actions, and not judge people and not make them feel uncomfortable. And whether that's a girl wearing a mini skirt, whatever, respect everybody. That's their journey, and it's not for us to make any assumptions or.
Alhamdulillah. We've only got a few minutes left, but I just wanted to get a takeaway message from yourselves and related to how we as a Muslim community can raise the profile of Muslim women. And when I mean, I'll give you a context. So that hijab is not associated with a lack of education, for example. So Muslims that are secular tend to be more Western educated and don't wear hijab. How can we raise a profile? Just a summary from yourself. No pressure. And a summary from yourself before we close out.
I'll let you go first.
I think that we, there was recently the social media, what's it called? Something of traditionally oppressive, was it something? I can't remember. It was a hashtag on social media. Okay. I think that was a fantastic, innovative way to tell people that actually, I'm a doctor, I'm a radiographer, I'm this, I'm that, I'm educated, and I wear hijab. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry to abuse. I can't remember the actual hashtag, but again, it's about raising women. We need to raise our own profile, and no one can. Why should we expect the Western media to be giving us a better light? Well, why aren't we doing that ourselves? Why aren't we giving ourselves that positive image to say, and that will start at the level that we're at local levels. And then, there are some amazing women who do work at national government, around the world. So give these speeches.
We don't like to boast as Muslims, but we do have to big the sisters up.
Absolutely.
And just to close out, sister.
I think, in addition to your point, that, we should portray the hijab as something that is empowering for women, and it doesn't stop us from going out there and doing what any other non-hijabis doing, and like you said, all these high-profile women who are in hijabs, we could use them as a role models, and
indeed,
obviously our perfect role models are the Ahlul Bayt, and I think maybe even raise more awareness about the Ahlul Bayt, and sort of share their life and how they lived their lives and how they empowered the whole Islamic community, just you know, it
By
didn't
their
stop them.
example.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, sisters, so much. Can't thank you enough for your words. And thank you for staying with us for the duration of Breaking Boundaries. And I guess the takeaway message is that Allah is a guide. The example is the Prophet Muhammad and the members of his household. But we also have some contemporary role models in the Muslim community. Until next week, remember to stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.